Welcome back, my friends, to another lecture for a CSS Grid. Here we're gonna learn about gaps, min-max again, but for the rows, and grid template rows, right? We have just mentioned about rows, but we haven't done anything specific with them. So let's start. But before that, I just want to color things, and I'm just gonna delete this one, and you open this part here, and let's localhost grid, and you just hit enter like that, and that's for the practice, but you don't need it, right? So here, what we're gonna use some of this just to make our grid more nicer. So what I'm going to do here, because I have item class, but I need here, I will just hold Alt on Windows, and I'm just gonna select everything, and I'm gonna add a new class which is gonna be modifier to this one, and it will be item like this 1, and it should not be 1 for everyone. So 2 here, 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, 7. So you can pause this one. I mean pause. Yeah, you can. What happened? So you can pause this video, you can grab the file if I upload this one. Not sure, but if I do, you can just grab that and start from there. You don't have to do all of this, but I had to, right? Because some of the people, they want to see things. So now here I am just going to leave this one here as it is, and what I can do, I can go outside here, and I will just, now I need all of those 12. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I think so, they were 13, I'm not sure. You don't have to create this much. And 10. And now I do have a problem, 9. So here it's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and here let's start giving a color, background color, and let's put brown here, comma, semicolon, and we will color each and every of them, because salmon, we will sea green, just put any colors you want, because green, maybe that will for the next, because we don't want 2 of them to be the same, right? Similar colors. Sandy brown, black. Let's put this one here as gray. Let's put that one as what? Red. There is a also very good yellow green here. We can put this one as what? Pink or plum. Just put some nice colors, because I want this one to be a little bit styled, to be a little bit better than it was. So here I will just put orange, red, and the last one is goldenrod. That's it. Save it. Now let's see what's happening. Everything looks nice. We have one problem, the darker. So how we can target that one? Very easy. I have the main class that can take all, we have the same main class everywhere. So I can see here, I just can color, and I will put snow like that, and everything else is going to look very nice. So here we do have the colors. Let's start with something to learn something new, right? I'm going back here. I'm just going to kill this one, and I'm just gonna make grid template columns, and I will say repeat for 1 fractional unit, and that will create a very nice layout. But I haven't used this one, and that is because grid gap, or you can just specify like this, grid gap, and let's put 10 pixels. So if I put 10 pixels, you will see that it will apply gap or gutter or whatever you want to call it everywhere between, and so in the rows and in the columns. So everywhere the gap is applied, because I only put one value here. But there is a one more specific. So what if we want to be 10 pixels here, but the gap between the columns to be larger? So we can do that. And by the way, I'm doing this, and I know that it will override the last one, because it's the same grid gap, and this one will take a precedence, and it will override the other one. But it's always good to comment like this. Now, this should not change, but this is more obviously. Let's put it more obviously like this, 30. So the first property goes for the gap of the rows, and the second property goes for the columns. So this is what you can get, and if you go like this, it will look super amazing, right? So I just want, always, most of the times, I put a grid gap like that, but one single line, and I put grid gap of 10 pixels. That's enough, and I'm gonna stick with that at the moment. So I just want unique gap between. So you now learn about grid gap. I just leave it so far. I have never mentioned why, because this is very easy to understand and to learn. So it will create gap between the cells, right, or the items. And very good. Now we need to specify something. Let's start creating. I'm just gonna comment this. I'm just gonna comment this one. What I'm going to create here is, I'm going to create grid template. I just want two columns, and each of them should be, I don't want one FR, I don't want them to stretch, so I just want them to be 25%, and like that. And let's just save it and see what will happen. So here, that's called explicit. I explicitly told the grid that I want two columns. The rows are created by grid auto rows, right, by default. But now we're gonna deal with the rows. By the way, min, max, everything that we used for the columns, it can be applied to the rows, just to be sure. So I might forget to tell you that, but everything that we just repeat, everything that we have done so far, everything, it can be there, right? Very good. So here I am going to do now, so let's create two rows that are explicit, and I want a different height for them, right? For example, I just want, now we have same height for every row, but I want two rows, grid template rows, and I just want one of them to be 200 pixels, oops, and the other one to be 400 pixels. So I'm not gonna refresh now at the moment. So I have 25% and 25% for the columns, and I just want 200 pixels for the first row, and for the second row I just want 400 pixels. Everything after that, you will see what will happen. So this is 200 pixels. If I just inspect the element, you see, and that's it. So it's 200 pixels wide and 475 in wide and 200 pixels in height. So if I go, this one will be the same, but if I go to item number 3, it will be 400 pixels. And after that, every other is 45 pixels, because we have a content inside, right? We can do this as well if we want. So now when you click, you can see that the gap, it's marked like this. You can even see the gap, right? What else we want to achieve here is that we can also, this is called, again, explicit. So explicitly we create two columns with two rows, but after that we haven't even said what so the grid auto rows by default is activated. But what we can do even something more amazing. Grid auto rows, in, let's say that we want this one to be, all of them to be 150 pixels in height. So if I change this one now, very nice. So you can see that everyone, even the one that are not explicitly, they are implicitly created automatically. That was the reason I started with explicit and implicit, because now you understand that we can even change those values. So all of the rest of the automatically will be implicitly created with 150. If I go here, inspect the element, and it will be 150 in height, right? So 475.75 in length and 150 in height pixels. So what else? Now let's play with the min-max property for the rows, because if I don't do that, I will feel bad because I haven't told you what else we can do. So grid template. By the way, you can comment this one. I'm not gonna comment this one, probably. I don't need grid template now. So grid template. I was trying to say something, right? Grid template columns again. Let's create 2 template columns that will be 200 pixels and 200 pixels, like that. And you know what? I just want this one item. I'm just gonna copy this class here, and I'm just going to comment this part now, and I'm gonna uncomment this part because I'm gonna use min-max. You know, I want you to see what I'm trying to say. So here the text is clipped. You see, it's going below here. And let's put it here. And what else we have? So we have 200 pixels and 200 pixels, right? Now we need to define something about. Now we have the problem because the first row. So the first row and the second column contains more info. So in the first row, this is the first row from left to right. The second column contains more information that we can get in this container. Now let's put minimum of the row to be like 200 pixels, but we can define the max content. So what we can do here, we can say grid template rows, and what I can do is I can say min-max. Remember min-max that we have used. So I can put 200 pixels because I want to be 200 pixels. But what I want to be, or 150. Let's put it 150. So I want the height to be, let's see how much the height is at the moment. 200, right? So I'm just going to say again, to be 200 minimum, no matter what. And I'll put here max content. So what do you think will happen? So I'm explicitly define one row only. I explicitly define this one. I don't deal with this part here. And what we can do here, what else? I'm just gonna comment this part here. I'm just gonna comment everything till here, right? And I don't need that one because I need to start from scratch. Now I'm gonna refresh and see what's happening. So now I have here inspect element, and this one will be 225, but I told that it's gonna be minimum of 200. But if I clip the text here, if I just change the text, it will be minimum of 200. But now because it's more and the max content is going there, and it's telling, okay, we have more content than 200 pixels, which is the minimum, and that's why we're gonna extend. And that's why this row, the number 1, is also extended. Very nice feature. So that's how we can use min-max with the max content. And what else we can do? We can also put at this one, and I don't want to see like that. And again, I can put the rest of the rows starting from number 3 to be at least 150 pixels, right? You can also put auto rows, min-max, 100 and max content. It won't work. It will work. Let's put it here, 150 pixels. Let's see what will happen. Very good. Nothing changed. But if you have more content here, they will stretch. Very good. I like the way we are going through things. So now I just want to mention a couple of things. So we have grid auto flow property. We haven't discussed about that one, and we will say grid auto flow property. And that property in CSS Grid is by default is by default set to row. So now if I just type a grid flow, auto flow, and I will set to row, and if I save it, nothing should change. And if I refresh it, nothing should change. But the thing is that we have here only defined that we have two columns, explicitly defined that we have two columns, one row, and one row. I'm gonna change this one to 150 again now, because I've told you. I'm just gonna comment this one so you know how to use it, right? And I don't want you to say that Rick deleted things and now it's not clear. And nothing should change here because we don't have more content, because we have only numbers. And what now we can do here, because we have two columns, 1, 2, but we have explicitly told that we need to have one row here with at least 200 pixels and the max content. That's it. That is why the first row is like this. But what if I try to change the grid auto flow to column? So what do you think will happen? Will happen something similar with the Flexbox. This is row, and we are saying just create more columns on the right side. We don't want this is what happening, and they're stretched because this guy here is like a parent of it's like acting as a parent with the highest possible height. So these are attached now, as remember when we say display flex, and everything will be like this, right? So because why we change this part here, and we can define from where to start. So if we want this 3 and 4 to be here, we can do that by defining that here, by adding more, for example 150, 100, by defining more rows. And everything else, when we put this, when we put this one here, when we put grid auto flow to column, that is what will happen. So that's pretty much it. The next thing that I want to show you is just to turn on your grid lines, because after this lecture, so they started from 1 and they're going till the end, right, till 14. So we can just manipulate with these lines, but I'm gonna make changes here, and we can learn about spanning and how I can stretch this, for example, this part, this cell here, to go to the number 4. So you can learn about that. The next content will be super amazing. So that's why you need to learn how the Firefox use these line numbers, tick the line numbers, because we need them. We need the line numbers to know how to navigate between them, right? So you start from 1, 13, and because we have the 13 actually elements, and we will by the 14 actually we have 13 elements. So we will talk about more in the next lecture. Enjoy the rest of the day and see you in the next one. Bye.